I've always been fascinated by the extremes of our world, and today, we're going to explore something truly mind-boggling. You know, when we think about countries, we often imagine vast landscapes stretching as far as the eye can see. But what if I told you that some nations are so small, you could walk across them in less time than it takes to watch this video? On the flip side, there are countries so massive that they span multiple time zones and climate regions. It's like comparing a grain of sand to a mountain. Let's dive into this incredible contrast and discover the smallest and largest countries on our planet. Let's start our journey with the tiniest countries on Earth. Now you might be wondering, just how small can a country be? Well, prepare to have your mind blown. The smallest country in the world is Vatican City, and get this, it's only 0.44 square kilometers. Moving on to the second smallest, we have Monaco. At 2.02 square kilometers, it's practically a giant compared to Vatican City, right? Not really. It's still smaller than New York's Central Park. Now let's hop over to the Pacific Ocean to find Nauru. This island nation is just 21 square kilometers and has a population smaller than many high schools. But here's the kicker. It once had the highest GDP per capita in the world due to its phosphate deposits. Talk about big things coming in small packages. Now that we've explored the world's tiniest nations, let's shift gears and look at the absolute units of countries. You know, the ones that make most other nations look like specks on a map. First up, we have Russia, the undisputed heavyweight champion of land area. This behemoth spans an incredible 17,098,246 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, you could fit about 38,859,650 Vatican cities inside Russia. It's so massive that it stretches across 11 time zones. Next on our list is Canada, coming in at a whopping 9,984,670 square kilometers. It's like Russia's slightly smaller, friendlier neighbor. Canada is so big that it has more lakes than the rest of the world combined. And let's not forget about China, clocking in at 9,596,961 square kilometers. It's home to every type of landscape you can imagine, from the peaks of the Himalayas to the deserts of the Gobi. China's so large that it borders 14 different countries. That's like having to remember 14 different neighbors' names. So, we've seen the extremes, from countries you can traverse on foot in a day, to nations so vast, they defy comprehension. But what does all this mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, size can have a profound impact on a country's resources, population, and global influence. Take Russia, for example. Its enormous landmass gives it access to vast natural resources, but it also means huge stretches of barely habitable tundra. On the flip side, a tiny nation like Monaco has to make the most of every square meter, leading to some of the most expensive real estate in the world. And what about defense? Larger countries like China have the advantage of strategic depth, while smaller nations like Tuvalu are literally fighting to keep their heads above water as sea levels rise. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some of the smallest countries punch way above their weight in global affairs. Vatican City, despite being smaller than some shopping malls, wields enormous spiritual and diplomatic influence. Meanwhile, Canada, the second largest country, has a population smaller than Tokyo. It just goes to show that when it comes to countries, size isn't everything. It's how you use what you've got that counts. As we wrap up our whirlwind tour of the world's smallest and largest countries, I hope you've gained a new appreciation for the incredible diversity of our planet. From the tiny Vatican City to the vast expanse of Russia, each country we've explored today has its own unique story and challenges. It's mind-blowing to think that you could fit thousands of Monacos inside China, or that Nauru once had a higher GDP per capita than the United States. These extremes remind us that our world is full of surprises and that there's always more to discover. So, the next time you look at a map, remember that behind every border, no matter how small or large, lies a rich mosaic of human experience. And who knows, maybe this video has inspired you to visit some of these places yourself. After all, whether you're standing in the heart of Vatican City or gazing out over the Siberian tundra, you're witnessing a piece of our incredible world. Thanks for joining me on this journey from the tiniest to the most titanic nations on Earth. Until next time, keep exploring and never stop being curious about our amazing planet.